All right, we're back with the podcast, and this afternoon we have a special guest, Scott Atherton, president of IMSA. He's in Detroit for the Chevy Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix presented by Lear Corporation. It's a another great weekend here for you guys, and welcome to Detroit, Scott.
Thank you very much. Great to be back.
Well, obviously you've got a lot of talking points. You're president of a pretty booming series right now. You guys are having a great season. I think this is race number 6 on your schedule. Talk about some of the growth you've seen even just this year. I know you had a couple new teams come in that you're excited about, and they're starting to produce for you.
Yeah, it is. We're in an era, I think, that people will look back upon, hopefully in the very distant future, and say, boy, those were golden years, weren't they? And our challenge right now is just to keep it going. New teams, new manufacturers, some new developments in our broadcast relationship, new developments with our tire partners. When you talk about what's happened this year, a lot of different winners, a lot of first-time winners. So far, touch wood, I think we'll be hopefully in the same situation this weekend, but every one of our events has had an increase in ticket sales, more fans showing up, record numbers in terms of digital consumption. Just about every gauge that we measure, the corporate dashboard, so to speak, is in as good or better shape than we've ever been in. So a lot of hard work by a lot of really good people have put us where we are.
Yeah, the folks here in Detroit have been promoting 15% ticket sales are up 15% over last year going into this weekend. And again, the weather's good. We're going to have they're talking 90 to 100,000 people out there for the 3 days. Today being Friday when we tape this, it's free pre-day out there. We have Comerica Bank here in Michigan that puts that on, so everybody can go out there and get a taste of the island, and hopefully a lot of them will come back on Saturday and Sunday and see what's turned out to be a great show. Now, Scott, you've been with IMSA quite a while now. I mean, you've seen a lot of the ebbs and flows of this thing, and right now you're on an uptick.
Yeah, it's a lot of years is right. Just a funny sidebar story. I was going through some boxes at home, and way back when, I actually lived in Ann Arbor. I was working for Domino's Pizza at the time and running their IndyCar program. So that goes back to 1985 if you want to get really technical. But at one point in my Domino's Pizza motorsport career, I had been approached to join the IMSA organization, which was at the time located down in Clearwater, Florida. So I traveled down there. I met with Mark Raffoff and George Silberman, who were the president and leadership at that time, and didn't get the job, which probably hindsight 2020 was a good thing. But when I left, they gave me this information kit on IMSA, and I stuck it away. I've moved 14 times since then, and I still hung on to it, and just last week I pulled it out. So when you say I've been around IMSA a long time, nice. It goes back much longer than people realize. Professionally, most recently, having joined Don Panos and his group, that was in 1999, and that's Don at the time owned IMSA, even though at that time it was dormant. They referred to it as professional sports car racing back then. So yeah, from 99 through today has been at the helm.
Well, and we had the American Le Mans series. We've had the Grand Am series. We've had different intonations of sports car racing in the U.S. But right now, we have you guys, Pirelli World Challenge. But you're really the big show right now.
Yeah, I would agree. And there's room for everybody. And if you think about it as a swim lane, we have a swim lane in professional sports car racing that's very focused on manufacturer involvement, and a good balance, a good blend of both professional teams, professional drivers, factory-backed programs, as well as top-level independent teams, independent drivers, gentlemen drivers. Not all want to be referred that way, but it's true. People that sign the front of the check in order to make that happen. And then you think of Pirelli World Challenge, and that they've kind of morphed into more of a customer-oriented format, and that's why I think there's room for everyone. We're proud of the relationship we have with Le Mans and the ACO, so it gives us some international connectivity and a lot of shared resources there in terms of rules and regulations and teams that go both ways. Many of our teams will leave as soon as our race is over on Saturday to fly all night to Le Mans to participate in that test day. Not just the Corvette team. They're kind of the perennial participants there, but we've got several teams and drivers headed to Le Mans. So an international flavor, but our focus is very much on North America.
Well, speaking of the international flavor, I mean, you got the World Endurance Challenge, which is also, that basically is Le Mans for people that are trying to think which cars are those guys. I mean, you've got some of those teams and those drivers now in your series talking, very highly of your series. That's got to make you feel pretty good.
I think they enjoy racing here. They appreciate the level of professionalism. They love the tracks that we race on. Many of the tracks that are part of the World Endurance Championship are Formula One facilities, so lots of runoff. The fans are quite a ways away from the track side. When you compare, and I mean this respectfully, but the old school formats that we race, whether it's at Sebring or Road Atlanta or Watkins Glen, a fan can get right on top of it, literally. And the drivers love the high speeds. They like racing in the IMSA environment and in the WeatherTech Championship.
This year, we talk about your growth, and the big teams coming in and the manufacturers. Acura Team Penske and Mazda Team Yost are getting a lot of, press. Came out of the blocks a little bit slow, but the last few races we've seen that, what they can do, and I think they're going to be a factor the rest of the way. But, going forward, Scott, do you see other manufacturers, other big teams, looking at your series maybe a little different even because these guys have come in?
Believe it or not, right now we have 18 manufacturers involved in IMSA. And that includes the WeatherTech Championship and the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. If you just took the WeatherTech Championship, which is our premier category, that's 14 manufacturers. Wow. So when you say, is there any other manufacturers taking a look? There is, but we're getting into some really thin air when you talk about adding more to it. Team interest for sure. What we are seeing is manufacturers taking a closer look at the DPI category, especially.
Yes.
The opportunity for a manufacturer to come in and brand a prototype that is capable of winning overall at the likes of Daytona, Sebring, Petit Le Mans, et cetera. The opportunity to do that in a relatively affordable way, which has now been proven to be a very viable option. Acura, you mentioned their breakthrough win at our most recent race at Mid-Ohio. When you say a slow start, I think it's been amazingly fast for them to have parachuted into this incredibly competitive environment. Now, you would expect that to be the case with Penske behind it, Acura, HPD, but it's tall cotton within that category. With Nissan, Mazda, Cadillac, and Acura now competing, week in and week out. I see the growth coming in that category.
Well, you talk about that. We're just not used to hearing Team Penske talk about learning curves and things like that. Yeah. We just see the excellence that they've put forth with all their teams coming off the Indy 500 win. People are going to see, the Team Penske logos out here on Belle Isle this week, and they're going to say, well, they're going to win, right? Well, it's a little different animal, but still, you're right. 5 races in, and they're already, pretty much where we thought they'd be on race 1, and that's testament to that organization.
Yeah, if you saw the way Penske debuted in the modern era, because they ran the Porsche Spiders in the American Le Mans Series very successfully. And they took an LMP2 car last year and entered at the Motul Petit Le Mans and put it on the pole and had the opportunity to win that race right out of the gate. So that kind of sent the message to the world, hey, new sheriff in town, and be prepared. But that was a one-off example, and they've earned their way to the front. I think most people would say don't bet against Penske, and I'm on that list. But I would also say they've got some very formidable competition. I think when you win in the WeatherTech Championship these days, you've accomplished something.
And we're seeing that from a lot of the teams that are talking about. They've enjoyed watching the bar get raised. I mean, these teams that were winning, the Taylor Racings and that have been, formidable in the series. It's not just roll out the cars anymore. I mean, they got to step up their game, and I think they're all enjoying that challenge, to measure against the best.
Yeah, no question about it. And you could look at just the prototype category with the DPIs and the LMP2 cars, but the same is true in the 2 GT classes as well. The level of competition, the diversity, the level of professionalism. We just went flag to flag at Mid-Ohio without a full course yellow. Unheard of.
Sure.
And when you look at the margins of victory after 2 hours and 40 minutes of racing, nonstop without a single full course yellow, incredibly close. And to have a breakthrough win first time for Lexus in the GTD category, breakthrough win for Acura and Prototype, you got to pinch yourself to say, is this really that good right now? And I want to make sure everybody understands we're not reading our own press releases. We are not pulling back on the throttle and kicking it out of gear. We've got a group of people that have carried the heavy load and scratched and clawed our way to where we are now, and nothing's changed. We're still hard on it, and understand even on its best day, it's very fragile. And just looking forward to continuing to do what we've been doing, because it's working.
Now, you got some other exciting things happening. I know maybe if we can kind of take a peek at 2019. Michelin coming on board. I know you're excited about that. What does that mean to IMSA, getting a manufacturer like Michelin?
Before I answer your question, I want to say that Continental Tire has been a fantastic partner. It predates my involvement. It was part of Grand Am from the beginning, or nearly the beginning. They've done nothing wrong, and it was the most difficult process we as a management team have ever been through. You've got to choose one or the other. You can't retain both. And back to the answer of your question, the significance of Michelin coming in on, again, an international scale, knowing of the global benchmark that they represent, especially in the sports car category, the history they have within the Le Mans and the WEC, having been active in the American Le Mans Series, been a very consistent and solid performer in our GTLM category from the beginning, to now have their involvement as our official tire partner beginning in 19 across all categories. Not only that, but some of our challenge classes, like the IMSA Prototype Challenge, will also be on Michelin product. What's significant and hasn't really been documented, and necessarily wouldn't be, but this will represent the foundation for their marketing programs across the United States. So this is not simply let's put a brand on it and put some logos on some cars and drivers and hope for the best. This is a comprehensive marketing exercise for them that will not only build their brand and move their product forward, but it will open up our platform to people that otherwise never would have been made aware. They've already started some of their influencer campaigns, and they're bringing in influencers not only from automotive categories and motorsports categories, but from lifestyle and fashion and food and people and places you wouldn't expect, but they're exposing them to what IMSA is about and what Michelin's role will be. This may sound like an exaggeration, but we believe this will be a game changer going forward.
Well, another game changer, Scott, TV next year. We're going to change channels going over to NBC. Again, I got to believe that opens up some different avenues for you guys and some of the things they have in mind.
I could almost make a repeat. We've had a wonderful 5-year run with Fox, and to have that type of stability, and they have done us right many, many, many times across the board. They've given us opportunities, network television coverage. This year alone, having the first 3 hours of the Rolex 24 live Fox network, flag-to-flag coverage live from Long Beach. So again, nothing done wrong, but the opportunity for us to join NBC and the commitment from the highest level of their senior executives all the way through the company to motorsports in general, to be a part of the same network that has NASCAR, that has IndyCar, and now has the WeatherTech Championship, as well as many of our other platforms. Couldn't be happier about that. Very much looking forward to the cross-pollination, the cross-promotion opportunities, promoting our races inside NASCAR and IndyCar races and vice versa. I think this is going to be that high tide that lifts all the ships.
And we're going to be watching your races not only on our TVs, but on all sorts of different platforms. And, I'm sure there's things we can't even imagine right now, opportunities we're going to see in car and, the tachometer. We're going to see everything, aren't we, eventually?
NBC owns the Olympics, literally. And as a result of that, the number of people that have the NBC app, which will give you direct access, live flag-to-flag coverage of all of our events. Same thing at NBC.com. I mean, the connectivity, the TV everywhere option that we now have as a result of that NBC link up will take us to a whole new level. We've almost a 50% increase in the amount of network TV coverage, which for any motorsport is always a plus, because you get to expose your product to the broadest, most diverse audience possible. And then ideally you drag those people back to your cable programming because they've become fans. They've gotten interested through channel surfing and coming across your broadcast and saying, this is pretty good, this is pretty entertaining. Anybody that's watched any of our races lately, people get excited about a single pass, or, an overtaking maneuver. We do that 20 times a lap, with all the activity that's going on in our races.
You talk about bringing the product to people in different ways and frankly, bringing it to different venues and things like that. I mean, your schedule last year came out 1st of August for this year. I assume we're close for the 2019. Any new markets on tap for the near future, long range?
The short answer is not in the near term, but always looking with an open mind to those opportunities. We have to be very careful with expansion of our calendar, and we could add multiple races to the calendar today if we thought that it would make sense for our stakeholders. And what I mean by that is, if you just take the first 2 races of our season, you start with a Rolex 24 at Daytona, followed immediately, well, not immediately, but a month later by the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. You've got 36 hours of racing in the first 2 events. That's an entire IndyCar season in the first 2 races.
Exactly.
So the budgets, race cars run like airplanes and boats. It's by the hour. So every hour that those cars are out competing, there's a meter that's running that is a very significant amount of resource required to keep that meter ticking along. So while it would be easy as a sanctioning body to add another race, the implications of what that means to team budgets is significant. So we take a lot of our cues from our teams and our manufacturers, our marketing partners. Where would you like us to be? And is it make sense for us to expand? Yes, no. We're constantly in dialogue on that. So one of the beauties of the merger of Grand Am and the American Le Mans Series is it gave us that dream schedule. It hasn't always been like this. Grand Am had Daytona, ALMS had Sebring. Grand Am had Watkins Glen, ALMS had Petit Le Mans. We all had our benchmark examples. Put those all together in one calendar and then stand back and let it do its thing. So the stability we've had in this schedule has been one of the hallmarks, and I think plan for that to be the case, at least for the near term.
Now, contracts are up, we hear, for Belle Isle for all the series. I know those are being talked about right now. We heard Detroit Grand Prix Chairman Bud Danker this morning talk that, hey, we're going to be here for a long time. Does that future include IMSA?
I certainly hope so. We have a contract that's under renewal right now. It's got a little asterisk on the process because it's contingent on their ability to extend the opportunity for them to run on Belle Isle. If Bud's saying that's locked and loaded, then I think it's safe to say we would soon be locked and loaded as well. You think about the Motor City and the automotive industry and the connectivity that this city has to that. And you've heard me say a moment ago, 14, 18 manufacturers actively involved and a lot of companies that are connected to those manufacturers as well. So for this championship to race in Detroit is a hand-in-glove fit. It makes good sense for all involved, and we would look for a long future ahead, especially with Roger actively competing, with us with the Acura team. I would not want to be the messenger to Roger that IMSA is not part of the future here. That would not be our plan, and I don't think it's theirs either.
Well, I'm sure Roger would love to keep playing in the sandbox out here on Belle Isle. It's his home track, it's his hometown, and we really embrace this race. Scott Atherton, I can't thank you enough for stopping by. I know you want to get back out to the island. You guys are running tomorrow. You're racing. As we tape this, you guys are out there on the track practicing, and I know it's an exciting time for you guys. And enjoy your next day or so in Detroit.
Thank you very much. Before I sign off here, I just want to tip my hat to what you guys do for not just motorsport, but for the industry as well. And I grew up, a kid in Seattle, getting competition press, Autoweek, reading Satch Carlson. It goes back that far. And you guys do a super job. So, thanks for the opportunity today, and thanks for what you do for the industry.